So ladies and gents, you're in for a treat today. Trust me, if you don't have 20, 30 minutes to watch through this interview, I think you are at a severe disadvantage going into 2021. So Ethan is actually one of our stallion students inside of Copy Paste Agency. He's making around 30 grand a month at the moment. And we cover a wide variety of topics, you could say, inside of the student interview. So as always, if you want to find out a little bit more about Copy Paste Agency and our no risk money back guarantee, kind of the way that we get such ridiculous results for our students, it'll be a pinned comment in the section down below. So yeah, I don't think I need to blabber on anymore. I think, as I said, you guys are in for a treat, so I'll let it roll. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another student interview. I think there's going to be a lot of raw emotion in this one, just because, obviously we were talking off camera. Like, it's intense. Sometimes you have to stop and just kind of like look around. As you kind of said, you're like, how the hell sure. did I end up here? So, for those of you guys, tuning in, a little bit of context. Ethan's one of our students inside of a Copy Paste Agency, and he's doing around 30,000 a month right now, pretty quickly ramping up to 50K a month, working currently with around 8 clients. And yeah, one of your billables was, what was it, 16K? 18 from one client. So yeah, we'll touch on that in just a second. But in terms of your journey, it's been a little over a year that you've been an agency owner. So first of all, what inspired you to start an agency?
Quite a few things, actually. So my friend group and I were pretty small, like a tight-knit group and all that. And we were in school, I was in school in the Caribbean, actually. I was in Trinidad in the Caribbean. And met a lot of new people there. Some of them were extremely poor, some extremely rich. But a lot of my friend group is very diverse, right? And we kind of knew a few things. We knew that we wanted to not go the typical route, like go to college and just, like be stuck in a job for decades. Because like, how much leverage do you have to actually impact the world that way, right? Almost none. Almost none. It's really hard to do anything that you might even want to. How can you have any kind of impact that way either? So that's one thing we knew. We also knew you wanted to like do anything big. You wanted to do like large scale impacts, kind of like how you're doing Power Trust, things like that. We wanted to make some pretty big impacts that way, and you kind of need money to do it very often. We knew that we had to take an off the beaten path approach to it. And thirdly, we wanted to kind of like, we really wanted lifestyle design. We didn't want to, again, have to just be limited in every factor of our lives, except for maybe how much sleep we got. We wanted to make sure that we could, design our life situation instead of be at the mercy of it.
Amazing.
So those 3 things kind of resulted in us looking at businesses, trying to make them, and essentially we made like a web design business. I was the person who showed them how to do web design because I learned to code when I was like 9, 10 years old. So I kind of helped some of my friends learn that, and we started, doing web design for companies down, in the Caribbean there. And I remember the first day we got the name for it. A lot of our friends heard about this business retreat that was going on, and we just went, and they asked us for a business name we didn't even have at the time. We were just like, let's like brainstorm something. And we just wrote down like, like a transitional name at the time. And we just went in and started like talking to people, learning about the situation, and like just literally grabbing clients up immediately, right? So like that habit of taking immediate action, something that we're no stranger to. So that's what kind of motivated us, really.
That's awesome. So let's see, obviously you mentioned that you started right at the end of 2019, but it was only, really when kind of the world went into frenzy in March of 2020, that you kind of put your head down and you seriously took a proper stab at this.
Exactly.
So what, that from that point until the time of recording, it's been 10 months. So yeah, if you could break down the timeline.
Sure. So in late 2019, we were like, so I was working pretty hard then. I was going for like a lot of different kinds of clients. I was researching, improving things like cold outreach, right? My favorite is email. And I was doing that in different niches, things like, like restaurants, dentists, going for them, trying to see how we can help, etc. And it wasn't working at the rate I'd liked, right? Like people were not responding. Some were, but I had the feeling that it would take a lot of that to have a meteoric, I guess, rise in revenue, right? So I was still doing it. I put my head down quite a bit. This is like I still remember waking up at like 5, 6 a.m. and like sending out a set of emails and all that and replying to some manually because I didn't want to like hurt my spam score or whatever. So I was doing this by hand every day before commuting to work and all that stuff. And then coming back home and then doing it all over again at night before I go to bed. Like it was like I really fit it into my schedule, right? But I feel like it's really important for people to realize when there's an open door, like something that changes in the environment that kind of gives you a better chance at something. And that's what happened when the whole pandemic frenzy began. When that started, I immediately thought, all right, this is a boon for e-commerce. Let's go straight in on that. And like the combination of that educated move, just having like a good choice plus the focused effort of all that outreach and all that strategy around that helped us like find quite a few clients. Not to mention that our biggest client right now is a guy that I have met in an in-person event. I think in early 2019. I met him like in May 2019. And we were still like in the agency work back then. Like we were still trying it, and we didn't really go fully in until like late 2019. But I met this guy in an in-person event. We talked quite a bit, and I wanted to work with him, right? Because I've been doing Facebook ads for quite a while. I actually did it for myself first, right? I'm a musician, I'm a violinist, and I was helping people learn violin. So I ran Facebook ads for my own info products a few years ago. So I kind of went in on my own, and I understood how it's done. So I wanted to help this guy, and he wasn't ready. So I followed up with him. I sent him emails. I sent him updates on his ads, like how they're doing, what's wrong with them, right? I didn't even have access to his account. I was just looking at the ad library, finding his ads, giving him value, like almost every week, every month, some stuff like that, until like it took over a year, about a year and a month, I think. And then June 2020, late June actually, like the end of June, he comes and he says, "All right, we're ready to go in. Let's work with you." And I was like, "Holy shit, this is not happening." I was like, "You serious?" And I said, "Sure." Like, in the time span between May 2019 and June 2020, I had learned so much more about sales and outreach and just becoming better at that. That it was just there was such a difference in the way I handled things, you know. So when he was ready to go in, we began in June, and I knew he would have knocked out of the park for him. So I didn't even charge him like any kind of initial 1 month fee. I just said, "We'll just do plain ROAS, and we will scale you," right? Um, and we started. It was pretty difficult, but at that time we scaled him. Uh, from then to now, he's about 10x his revenue. He's 10 times his size, and I think we're about to do that again this
Wow.
year. So that's essentially like a little timeline of what's happened since we kind of started. But it was
That's
not
awesome.
easy and it was not quick, right? Like it wasn't quick because a lot of it depends on how much you personally know. Like if you're a master at sales and you're really good at that, then it'll take less time. But people, like I tell people a lot of the time, like you might expect it to be fast, but that's only the case if you really, really know what you're doing. It takes as your skills increase, your results will increase too. So yeah,
For
that's
sure.
what.
And there's certain aspects of sharpening the sword that people don't account for. So, with you, it's like, okay, yes, technically you went from, I mean, really when you started your agency around March, like, if you look at the timeline, it's been 10 months, 11 months potentially. And, you're at 30K a month. So some people will be like, oh, okay, so he went from 0 to 30K a month in 11 months.
Right.
Not necessarily, because as you said, I mean, you ran your first ad 3 years ago, right? You got, you got accustomed to the ads manager. You've got accustomed to, going out there and making offers to other business owners, way before you ever, I guess, technically started your agency. So,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
exactly. It's
that's,
like
go for it.
I was gonna say, it's like they say, right? Like every overnight success is like there's a lot of preparation for that. Like that's it didn't just go from 0 to 100 in 1 day or in 6 months or in 11 months. Like you got to build the skills up so that you can make that jump. It doesn't happen like out of nowhere.
Mm. And, to relate that back to a bit about my story, that's very similar to, I was telling people, I'm like, look, from the age of like 14 to like, when I was 14, 2014, 2015, 2016, well, mid 2016 when I started my agency, like, and all the way to 2017, like for 4 years, I read a book a week. I meditated at some point, like, especially back, in 2014, 2015, because I had a lot of time, I would meditate an hour a day. So, and I was doing a lot of, going to the gym, doing a lot of internal work. And like my perception of self was pretty high. Like I had a good idea of myself, what I was able to accomplish. And, a lot of people, when they go into this process, if they're coming in from scratch, they constantly got those voices in their mind. Can I do this? Is this actually for me? I was like 100%. It won't be easy, right? It won't be easy, but I can make this work. And that's one thing that a lot of people won't account for, is those 3 years of reading self-help books, reading a book a week and applying all that information, meditating, getting really dialed in. A lot of people, when they first start with entrepreneurship, they can't sit down at their desk for more than 10 minutes, 15 minutes without getting distracted. I had been I had been sharpening that sword, and dialing in my focus for years before that, so that when I actually started my agency and it's like, oh, okay, wow, I found this thing that literally can change my entire life. It wasn't like oh, I'm going to do this, but then get distracted with a YouTube video. Like, I'll be honest, I was able from day one to sit down and do my outreach. Right. And I mean, I remember back then it was so tedious. I used to get all my clients through video audits, but we didn't, I didn't have Loom back then. So I would put my camera down. I remember I'd have my yellow notepad and a pen paper, and I'd put the camera down and I'd record the audit, and then I put it into Premiere Pro, edit out the like ums and ahs, put it as an unlisted video on YouTube, send it to them, pray that they'd seen it because I just sunk an hour into it. An hour and a half. So yeah, that's I said it. I know a lot of people watching this will be like, oh, 0 to 30K in 11 months. Not exactly. You're not accounting for all of that foundational work that was done before that time.
Right.
So you signed 2 new clients last week.
Mm-hmm.
What does your outreach look like? Where you're having that volume of meetings a month where you can sign 2 clients in a week.
So 2 things on that. One, we do email mostly because like we found that most clients that we come into contact with, they prefer to be like communicated or pitched through email. They prefer to they like it in their inbox. Like if it were in their LinkedIn messaging mailbox, they would prefer not to open it. They're just most open to email messages from what we've seen. So that's what we do for now. Like a lot of our agencies focused on making clients have an ideal experience. So we try to do things in a way that I guess complements them the most and helps them the most. So yeah, we do mostly email. We do, I would say, about 10 to 30 emails a day with regards to outreach. And we try to keep it, so we try to get our leads in a way that there are people who are very likely to be clients of ours. Right? We try not to keep it over. We try to make sure that we look to see how much traffic every lead gets, to see exactly how much they're in the market for ads right now, and then see how open they would be before we even go in. Because we don't want to be irrelevant and just send out to people who don't even want it, right? We want to make sure that they have the capacity to pay someone for their ad campaign, which is important to us. We want to know exactly what they're doing right now with regards to on traffic. Like if they have 10 visits a month or 10 visits per day on their website, they're probably not in a place to get a fully funded ad campaign. And we've learned that the hard way. Like in year one in 2020. When we had really ramped up outreach, we got a lot of leads, a lot of prospects who were interested, but just could not pay anything, right? And I mean, it's if you have a $20 a day ad campaign, it probably isn't going to scale, right? So you wouldn't need our help in this case. It's for later, things like that. We try to eliminate all of the prospects that are not in the right place. Essentially, it's qualifying, right? But it's qualifying before the outreach. Essentially, that was a big help. And apart from that, a lot of our outreach messaging is very unique. We try to have a lot of personality in it, so that it's not a lot of people these days are making comments about their ad strategy or making comments about their ads, and they're trying to like tips and tricks and stuff like that. When they're not like a lot of the campaigns are just terrible from the inside, right? And that's what you can't really see before they're your client. You know, one of the clients we got in the past week was a referral, right? Actually, both of them were referrals, but this particular one, um, she initially had a call with us just to see um, if we could give her some advice on, like, let her know how our campaign's going, right? So essentially, she doesn't know what makes a campaign good or not because she isn't a marketer. So she wanted us to take a look inside and see, like, let her know what she doesn't know, like what's wrong with the campaign, right? Because I think she didn't get a single purchase for the whole month of, well, she got very few. She got some, but she got very few. I think she got one in the past like 14 days of her campaign, which is insane. so so she wants to take a look. And we did. And all the ads weren't that bad. Like if we had sent her a cold loop, the ads that we saw wouldn't have been that terrible, right? But when you look on the inside of the campaign, it was awful. There she had like her pixel wasn't sending any data. Her match rates on her audiences were like 0%, which is like insane to me, right? And she had no retargeting going on. The agency that I was working with had no retargeting campaigns running, none. So they were just doing cold traffic alone, and they never set up a retargeting campaign in any way, shape, or form. Which I'm like, no wonder you have no sales on you. You're just sending out ads cold. There's nothing like there's no structure to it, right? Things like that are really, I think, what clients often need to hear. But it's hard to do that from the outside. You know, it's hard to tell someone that their pixel isn't doing any work. And if you like retarget people, or if you use lookalike audiences, you're going to be using lookalike audiences on essentially almost nameless audience events, right? It's very difficult to tell someone that from the outside because they can't see that. So a lot of our outreach is really based around messaging that shows that we understand the client situation, but at the same time, that we're actually honest about our intentions. A lot of people would say, "Hey, you have an issue on your Facebook profile, and like there's an issue in your campaign," when there really isn't. You're just trying to get a client here. And like if people would just come out and say that, like I think you made a post on this recently about the whole watch company, right? And how they hate how people are like ingenuine with their outreach and all that, and they beat around the bush. It's exactly what we try to avoid. Try to make sure that our outreach is honest, straightforward, and revolves around making their lives better and easier. Because I mean, clients are not against us. Prospects don't want you to lose and suffer. They're actually rooting for us to be good, have good outreach, and then help them with service delivery. Like no client would hate you bringing them 10x in a good campaign, but so they're not against us. We just need to start moving in a way that is, I guess, more ideal for clients.
Hmm. Yeah, and really just to really just to touch on that a little more. There's one that comes to mind. We have a client. We got access to their ad account, prior to basically signing them. We haven't signed them just yet. We're basically about to get over the line on Tuesday, I think it is. Without revealing too much information, this client does 21 million a year retail. They do around $1 million a year e-com. They have an agency running their ads at the moment. Same thing. You would look at the ads, and that's the honest truth of it, is that most people don't understand that I shit you not, 50% of e-commerce businesses out there are running ads at a loss or a break even. And you would never know, because as you said, you have to look under the hood, and you look at this, for example, with this client, it's just like, I see it all the time. Like quite clearly, this business knows what they're doing, right? Quite clearly, they're doing 20 million a year.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to the e-commerce side of things, they got another agency that's running their ads. They're spending $4,000 a month on agency fees, and this agency is negative. Like they're scaling losses, and it's just, as I said, until you look under the hood, you don't know this stuff. But you would look at their ads on Ads Library and be like, oh yeah, like I don't know if there's anything I could really improve here and this and that. And seriously, there are e-commerce brands out there that don't do the math well enough, and take into consideration their refund fees, their chargeback fees, their merchant fees, like, have the holistic picture. And basically, as I said, don't realize that they're scaling losses or scaling at break even, which for some, for some clients, like we've had clients in the past just be like, hey, we don't care if you scale break even. Because, for some people, they want to exit and, they just need to get the top line up at without a trough in cash flow. But point is, you would be shocked how how many businesses out there are advertising unprofitably. And I think the other thing that we don't realize is that we're in this little subsection of the agency world. Like we're not the majority. Like, online boutique agencies that offer one service, that's not the majority, that's the minority, right? Most agencies are your full service agencies, or even just like your, maybe they offer one service, but they offer it to, 15 different niches and this and that. And I think I can genuinely say this because I'm sure same thing with you, you've taken over a lot of client campaigns. Once you see this stuff, you realize the sheer incompetency of 90% of agency owners, and you realize that genuinely, like it's very rare that you'll be able to take over a client campaign, or there's very few cases where you can't do better than what an agency is currently doing or what they're doing in-house. Because as I said, most of the time they just miss the mark so much.
Very true. So it's so bad. Our biggest client right now, he had an agency before us. And they ran his ads first, and he quit after 1 month with that. But the way that it went, they discounted his product massively. I'm talking like half off, 30% off, 50, insane, like huge discounts, right? And they were running at about like a 1.2 return on ad spend, something like that. Like it was pretty bad, and they were charging him on after discounting his product. They were charging him, I think, a 30% commission on each sale, on top of, I think, a $3K a month agency fee. You cut the product price in half, and then you have the balls to charge a 30% commission on every sale. I don't get that at all. Like, that's disgusting to me, right? After we came on his campaign, his ROAS it barely goes underneath 4x. Like throughout the whole month. It's barely goes underneath that. Very often it's hit 6, 7, 8. Like, I just can't understand the sheer incompetence, like you were saying. It is unbelievable. Like, how do they have the gall to take people's money and not feel guilty is beyond me.
Yeah, and I mean, the easiest way you can tell, and I when sometimes we'll be talking to clients and I'll ask, hey, what's the deal with your current agency, this, that, if you don't mind me asking, how much do they charge, blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. When I hear that they charge based on like they charge a percentage, and if the thing that basically precedes that is a percentage of revenue or ad spend, I know I've closed the client. Because when you break it down to a client that any agency that charges a percentage of revenue or a percentage of ad spend is fraudulent, then that's it. It's a closed case after that. Because as I said, there's so many agencies out there that are taking a percentage of revenue. Okay, are you taking a percentage? That's it. Well, you make your client $1 million a month, but what if you spend $1 million a month? It stipulates nowhere like what are you actually taking home for the client? A percentage of revenue or a percentage of ad spend. Great. Okay, you're spending $3K a day for the client. How much are they making back? Because once again, the incentives are so wrong. And as I said, I know a shit agency by the way that they price. Like that for me, that's the easiest way to figure out whether an agency is legit or not. Is basically the way that they price. And as I said, a lot of really big agencies out there are charging on things like percentage of revenue or percentage of ad spend, or they have a tiered system. If we spend between 0 and 100K a month, we charge this much is our base retainer. If it goes up from 100 to 200, that next bracket, you're just incentivizing all the wrong things.
Exactly. I agree with that completely. Like, there's a client that we had a call with last year. We didn't close them. Eventually, it turned out to be a bad idea. So I'm glad we escaped that one. But the thing with them, like, when they heard that so they assumed we were going to charge them based on ad spend, right? And I said, no, why would we do that? Like, we're spending your money. Why would we get paid the more we spend your money? Like, that's not the right incentive. Like, I don't understand. And they were so delighted when they heard that. They like their eyes lit up. They were like, oh my God, like this, these guys are good. Right.
Mm,
And I'm like, it's normal to me. Like, why would I want to get paid for just spending your money? Like, if I
mm,
spend it badly, I'll still get paid the same. That doesn't help you. Right.
mm,
Like, because part of the reason why I want to make sure the incentives are correct is so that, like, I want the client to, thrive along with me, right? Because for a lot of reasons, it's a good thing. Ethically, it's correct, and not only ethically, but like for just length of term, it's a much better decision, right? Because when I know they're winning along with me, then they're not gonna leave. Like, we have supreme client retention rates for that same reason, and I'm sure you do too.
mm.
Because yeah, like as long as you are accountable for the results and you're actually accountable via revenue too, your own revenue, then we've realized clients stay for a long, long time that way.
Mm. Well said. So just switching gear here,
Yeah,
one thing that you mentioned just kind of off the call is, as I said, how old are you?
23, just turned 23.
Right. So 23 years old, as I said, making 30K a month, very, very, on pace to make 50K a month. I mean, shit, that one client, the performance fee client, that might even make up the rest of it, the way that's
Yep.
scaling up. Um, one thing you mentioned off camera is, you've always been someone who kind of takes care of the people around you and this and that. So cool. Like, also it's a very different mindset. The people in CPA, like everyone in CPA is just, usually once you get in CPA, you've made your money, this, that, like you realize like money is not everything it's made out to be. You get pretty
Definitely.
bored of you get tricked enough times, once you buy things or you go on a vacation or you get your dream thing and you're like, oh
Yep.
shit.
Yep.
All right. So I guess my point is, awesome. You're making all this money. What does that money do for you or the people around you, or like what, why make this money?
A lot of reasons. First off, I met a lot of great friends in the Caribbean, right? Like, they're people I would legitimately die for. They're amazing. And a lot of them come from pretty tough backgrounds, right? Some of them uh, were pretty poor, and I'm pretty glad that we're able to like have them get a job with the agency, and they're happy because they're doing something that they're a part of. They're not
Mm,
working in a corporation that might see them as as faceless and nameless and might just move on. Like, they're doing something that is essentially like also kind of theirs too, right? They're great friends of mine, and like being able to like almost pull people out of poverty and like help them essentially impact the whole family and get, I guess, the economic power to make, I guess, like larger impacts wherever they are. That's a really big deal to me. It's a huge deal to me. So that's one thing that I think is awesome. Apart from that, like my parents too, like I love them to bits. And like my she's been an epidemiologist. She also like used to be a teacher. So she homeschooled me when I was extremely young. And I feel like she's helped me a lot when it comes to critical thinking and things like that. And she worked, she worked extremely hard. So, same way yours did, right? In helping you when you were like young lads years ago. And it's like I would do anything to make sure that she's okay, she's well taken care of, and that parents are in the best condition possible. Because
mm,
when people work that hard to make sure that you're you're in a good place, you gotta take care of them. And yeah, I'm just happy to be able to see the people around me taken care of. There's a lot we plan to do, but as of right now, like seeing so much hardship around you in your younger years, and then like around the people who are really close to you that you might like, you just know they don't deserve that. Um, it just, I don't know, it just touches me like every single day. Like, I'm thankful for that every like whenever I wake up.
mm.
Honestly. So yeah, I feel that's like just there's a lot of ways that comes into play. There's a lot of things that I do for them, but it's just like there's too many to count. It's
That's
I don't
awesome.
know. Yeah, I'm almost speechless right now. Like it's just so much. It's a big deal. You know what I mean? Like when you grow up and you see almost an opportunity, you see like just a lot of aspiration, but not really much material resources around you to, I guess, to use. It's a pretty big impact when you're finally able to provide that for others as well.
Mm, for sure. For sure. Well, yeah, dude, that pretty much kind of brings it to the end of my question list. Yeah, I know that everyone watching this got a hell of a lot of value from it. Yeah, I think we touched on some very, very interesting points, and uh, probably woke people up to what are some of the realities of running an agency, the work that goes into it, not from the day you start, but everything before then, all your life experience. And as I said, just if you take one thing from this, it's the ads library isn't going to tell you, look under the hood and just go in with conviction, knowing that like 50% of the time they're not even running profitably. And the other 50% of the time, there's some fucking shitty agency that doesn't know what they're doing, that's getting mediocre results and taking fraudulent performance kickbacks from it.
Yeah, it's a hard situation. I feel bad for the business owners because they get emails every day about this stuff, and like imagine the sheer confusion that they have to go through, not knowing who's gonna rip them off and who and who isn't. It's tough.
For sure.
As a matter of fact, some of our clients often like forward looms that they get to me and to my team to say, hey guys, we got a loom about the number of ads we're running. Is that bad? And I might laugh and send some laughing emojis because they know that their ads are doing 8 to 10x. And when someone is saying that you guys need to be running like 40 ads, um, and they're only running like 10, but the 10 are so well placed that they're just bringing in like bonkers returns. The clients like they might laugh a bit, right? But this is why I usually tell people who ask, like the ads library is not going to tell you what's happening inside.
Well said. Well said. On that note, we'll end it here. Appreciate your time, brother.
Right? Appreciate your time too, man.